Okay, I'm expecting Margarite any second now. What I want to get from her is an explanation of how autism affected her and her son and her family, and her experiences with what it was like going through trying to figure out how to correct that issue. And I'll just let her talk about how it is. And she's really pushed this forward to help people. She's here to help people. And that's what this basically is all about. But they are now starting to look into this a little bit. They've identified 4 biological autism subtypes, and they show down here that they're caused by different chemistry, basically. So they're not just saying it's one of them's a little worse than the other one, but it's all the same problem. No, there's something tied to unique genetic markers and developmental patterns. It's not just one type of autism, and some of them are more autistic than others, but it's just the same thing. No, they're different. And every bit of your chemistry in your body, every single nerve fiber, every single nerve impulse is done by an enzyme. That's the way it is. All your insulation is created by enzymes to insulate all the wires in your nervous system. All your biology in your body is created by enzymes. I didn't realize how robust they are. It appears that these bacteria are very strong, and they can repair themselves in a whole host of ways. I was not aware of this. Some bacteria use photoreactivation to directly reverse UV-induced damage. They're using light to fix light. The importance of DNA repair. Well, obviously, you've got DNA problems, you got issues. Now, in other words, what they're saying is your DNA can be damaged, yes. And they say, well, you got DNA, there's a problem with your genetic code, because DNA is a genetic code. Okay, I got Smiley here with me. This is Roger, and we got Margarite O'Reilly, who is a fabulous human being, and she has a fabulous son, John Jr., who had some issues, and we just want to talk about this because they're really starting. I really feel like they're starting to make some inroads on understanding the mechanisms that lead to the autism. They just don't understand. They just thought, they're just confused. I don't know what they were thinking, because you remember how we started with this. What was it? I'm going to let you talk. What was it, 6 years ago or so? Go ahead.
It was 10 years ago, Roger, I first came across your channel.
Okay.
And you've been helping me. Do you remember the castor oil?
Yeah.
John's Gate?
Yeah.
That was 2018. And the years before that, I was too shy to ask for your help. But I always knew you were the man to uncover autism, because I've been following you and watching how you made observations, and all your clues were the same as my training as a beauty therapist in skin regeneration and the hair follicle. I remove women's eyebrows and moustaches, so I know a lot about hair follicles. And what you were showing us, I couldn't believe it, Roger. I couldn't believe it, because it was the same as our textbooks. But I understood you were researching the atoms and also the Mudfossils. So in 2019, you asked me one day, how was my son? And I broke down crying. I couldn't believe it. They wanted to put him in a secure unit. And you said to me, Margarite, just look at me as an old-fashioned doctor. I'm not a doctor. Just tell me what's wrong with your son. And you wrote down all his symptoms and came back within a day or two and told me it was his gut. I didn't believe it. I thought, poor Roger doesn't understand the neurons. He's telling me the gut. But because of your research, Roger, I am I trusted you, and I done it and got results.
Do you remember the first thing I asked you was, how does he poop?
Yes, that was the first question.
Yeah, and you said, do you remember your response? I'll tell you what your response was. I said to Margarite, she said she was very upset, and she's saying they're going to put him in a locked room. He's going to be there for the rest of his life, and she went through the symptoms. The first thing I said to her, I said, well, how does he poop? And she's, oh, they all have the same problem. They all have that, remember? And I said, well, that's not the problem.
The doctor told me that, Roger.
Yeah, well, and it's common knowledge. It's not hidden. They all have, well, not all, but I would probably say all, and even the ones that don't show the immediate, like diarrhea and all that stuff, constipation or whatever they have. They can still be missing the enzymes and the bacteria that create just that little bit of stuff that requires to insulate your nerves or whatever it does. But there's 75,000 enzymes. Now, I'm going to go into a whole long thing later, but go ahead and let's just discuss what was your life like. And we know you were distressed.
Yeah.
All right, so we talk. What did you do? Yeah. What did you do in response to our discussion? Just take it from there.
I listened to every word you said, Roger, and I followed everything you told me about the data. You told me the most important thing I had to do was collect data, because without the poo and urine data, we wouldn't know anything. I started crying. I don't want to collect poo data.
Well, wait! Before you go any further, I just want to make one statement. I never ever gave you any medical advice. No. All right? Okay. We were just talking about what research was being done, and that was your interest. And then you ended up going to Harvard for
cellular biology.
Cellular biology. Okay. Okay.
Your genomics and cellular biology.
Yeah,
he's AI biology.
Yeah. And at the same time, I was going to Johns Hopkins for genomics, and I was taking all kinds of courses. We were free. You didn't pay for anything, did you?
No, you told me how to do it, and I did it.
I got a bunch of people that did the same thing, and how can you beat that?
In 2020, you said to me, Margarite, it's nearly 2 years, I think a year, and no one is taking you serious. You're going to have to get a degree. Yeah. And off I went.
They still don't take, it was crazy because I did everything they asked for my research, and it still never went anywhere. But at least now you're getting, you've had the results. So let's just talk about what did happen with John. So they're going to put him in a locked room for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
All right, so that's where we're starting from. Go ahead.
He was a danger to himself and others.
Yeah.
That meant he couldn't hold a ball. He couldn't hold a ball or kick a ball. He couldn't speak. He couldn't do anything, Roger. And, he was like that there in his hands. Children with autism arm flap, but children who are intellect and severely autistic, the bones twist. And we don't know how the bones twist. How does the child's bone become like that and stay like that, and they're not born that way?
Yikes.
It has to be the nervous system, and once the good bacteria gets into the vagus nerve, it must then go into the neurons and control the nervous system. That it twisted. His hands have been like that for about a year or two, maybe 4 or 5 years, and we were saying to the doctors, he wasn't born that way. How did he end up that way? And all the children we help are the same, Roger. They're all the same, and they end up like John with their nervous system being straight. They can move their hands, pick up a phone, pick up a bottle Whereas before, you know, because their hands are like that, they can't pick up anything.
And now they're actually being able to do all the normal things. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Play football, everything. Speech is the best. There's a plane going to fly over. It'll be very noisy for a moment.
That's okay. We can't hardly hear. Go ahead.
So it took John less than a month. In fact, you know yourself, Roger, he was speaking within a week. But we don't tell anyone that. I told you. I said, Roger, he's speaking. But I don't know if it'll be like a one-off thing, you know, where a child gets their speech and then after a week it's gone. Because that happens a lot with the children. They gain their speech and then they lose it again.
Now, wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. When you say that happens a lot with them, does it happen a lot with all autistic children? Wait a minute, hold on. Or does it only happen to the ones you've been working with?
Well, you met a family last year who was on the course and their son was in his 30s and he was verbal and he only lost his speech at the start of COVID 5 years ago. And whenever he was on our program last year, he was starting to get his speech back.
No, but then he would lose it again?
Well, if his mum takes, I'm not too sure. I haven't been speaking to the mum from last year. The 30-year-old was doing fantastic, was able to go away on holidays, which he wasn't able to do, and was able to take a part in family dinners and outings to the pub, things like that.
Well, okay, good. But
all the children, John never went back. John only went back once in 2019 after 6 months when he had a tummy bug and the symptoms all come back. The only thing he could do was speak and he cried, "Why, mama? Why, mama? Why, mama?"
Wow.
He was like that there, you know, like that. And it was a shock to his system after 6 months of not having them symptoms. I think it was PTS or something, the shock that could come back to him again. And for about 1.5 years, it scared him, but now he understands how the protocol works and he takes it every day.
Now, that's the key. That's where I was going. As we were going through this, you were just fabulous. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
To keep that regime going. I mean, it's a daily thing. And I didn't realize how fast these enzymes work.
Nor did I.
Or how fast they don't work. When you don't have them, it's like, whoop, you're done. And then when I realized how fast you can become sick from radiation. Radiation exposure is when you get pulsed with radiation. Well, your bacteria is damaged right away. And within 2 hours, you start throwing up, you have diarrhea, you start having bloody stool, because everything in your body, the enzymes can't react. They're done. And within 2 hours. So think of these people not doing the regime on a daily basis, thinking, oh, a day or two, it's not a big thing. And that's what happened. Done. And then it takes, how long did it take to recover from something like that? It takes a little longer to recovery, right?
Yeah. And we've learned that, Roger. See, whenever you first take the probiotics, it'll be very fast getting the results. But see, whenever John had the tummy bug and was off him for 3 weeks, and all the symptoms came back, it took a wee bit longer to gain all them symptoms back for the first time. It's very fast, and all the families say that. But it only takes an extra week or two. That's all. You know.
Yeah, as long as it comes back. Now, how many you've been basically treating people? Advising them. Let's call it that way.
Yeah.
And you have a channel. What's the channel on Facebook?
Autism and gut health issues.
Autism.
And also Ascension Autism on X and YouTube.
Okay, Ascension Autism on X and YouTube, and gut and digestive health? No.
Autism and gut health issues on Facebook.
Okay.
You helped me choose that name, Roger.
Well,
I couldn't pick a name. You just said it like that, autism and gut health issues.
Well, that's what it boils down to. You know, and this is getting so prevalent, this condition. It's, you know, you were telling me there's a waiting list to have their colons cut out.
Yeah.
That's just unbelievable.
Yeah, the colon and gut part removal, a 1.5 year waiting list in Belfast.
Wow.
And the families that we got on our program last year, a lot of them have to have that operation. And there's also children that we have who have had cancer and other children. What you find in Northern Ireland is families who have bone cancer. A lot of the children will be on the spectrum as well. You know, Roger, whenever we do our research, the demographic study with the Ulster University, we have the 6 regions in Northern Ireland, all around Lough Neagh, and we're going to be able to look at our water, we're going to be able to look at the epigenetics, everything, because of your training.
Well, you're the one that, trust me, I would not. I was telling you, as I told you, probably better not to use my name when you do this, because, you know, they treat me like I'm an idiot, a crazy person. But, you know, what's right is if you can show something, you can show something. But anyway, you're doing the right job, and this is important to have done, and it's exactly what you're talking about. I keep finding more and more things, and they keep turning up more and more. Like this thing today that came out where they realize autism's not just one big problem. It's a multitude of other issues that tie together. So far, they come up with 4. Mm-hmm. Now, I think there's more than that, because really, I think you can tie all the different nervous conditions and so forth, and like you said, the nerve impulses where they're all tied together. They can't communicate. They can't get the signals out there. There's other issues where the insulation just doesn't work anymore. There's other issues where the actual muscles are contracting because they don't have the right enzymes to let them go. Yeah. The enzymes are the key to everything, and right now they claim they know of at least 75,000.
Yeah.
And if you don't have 10 of them, you could be sick. And they claim now, which I just learned just recently, that bacteria has extreme capabilities of repairing its own DNA and damages to its own program to keep making good, you know, ribosomes, and which are the programs and enzymes, and they can repair themselves. Now, I didn't realize that. I thought once they were damaged, it was done. Which lends me to think that it could just be a continuous assault. And you may live in an area where the water is, like you said, you got to check all those things.
Yeah.
One of the recent, I don't know if you saw the one I just did recently, where they realized they were giving food aid to places where they never ate those foods before, and they couldn't digest them. They had no bacteria to deal with them, and they were getting sick from eating this free food. They have to give them the food or give them something that's going to digest it. And that's the key. We don't have a database. We don't know what digests and what doesn't digest. We don't know who's got what.
Yeah.
That's the key where I'd like to see them really jump in on that.
Definitely. And Roger, do you remember back in 2019, whenever we were first got the results with John, and then we started helping people all around the world, and they all started getting the same results as what John was. And that was unheard of, because you never hear of anyone across the environments all having the same condition and all being treated with the same thing and all getting results. We done that.
Yeah.
I'm not, Roger.
So the bottom line to that is that it is some kind of digestive issue that you can replace these digesting enzymes with probiotics that either they shed off these enzymes or they are somewhat alive. I don't know. You really need the FMTs.
Yeah.
Basically, you need to replace the bacteria. Now, right now, they're taking stool from people that are healthy and making sure there's no bad stuff in it, and then giving it to people to replace, and it's working quite well. And in C. difficile, which is almost very, very hard to cure, it's extremely efficient. But you can't have it until you fail drugs 3 times.
Unbelievable.
I know. I just can't imagine what's up with that. You know, they say, well, now that you failed the drugs, you're almost ready to die. Yeah, well, go ahead and you can have some poop.
Terrible, isn't it?
Where's it go? That's insane. And then if you look up literally, I do this just to see if I'm right or wrong. I just look at Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, peanut butter allergies, balding, anything. Basically anything. If you have the right bacteria in your body, you're going to create the right products to deal with those conditions as favorably as can be done. I'm not saying you're going to jump up and become 15 years old again, no. But if as you age, obviously your bacteria is going to age. If it carries on as it appears to. I didn't realize how durable the stuff is.
Yeah.
But at some point, everything wears out, you know. So, anyway, yeah, you're doing a fabulous job. Now, how many people would you say have responded to your advice and had been helped?
Well, from 2019 to 2021, we have helped over 500 families one-to-one. We sent 3,000 emails. That's what we do know of, Roger. After 2021, I haven't had any grants to count up our data or do our data. But we have been working with the MPs and MLAs in Northern Ireland, and many of our families have went to visit them. That's why we were having our event in Stormont last year. But unfortunately, fake data was made against us, saying there was no data for gut health matters.
Let me just say something to you. That happens every single time. They say, oh, there's no evidence. You have all the evidence you could possibly have. And they say, no evidence. There's no peer review. That's what it was. There's no peer review. We're not going to look at it, so there's no evidence.
But it wasn't the universities. The universities are all on board. What we have found out is that Dublin, Galway and Cork have mapped out the microbiome for us. They have been working with Alzheimer's, autism and Parkinson's and other neurological issues. And we actually put a white paper together, sent it, Roger, and some of the other members before we send it off to other scientific researchers who have met through you and globally, Roger, to have a review of it before we set off on our adventure. We would like the other universities in Ireland to join us and create a demographic study right round the island of Ireland. And that way we're connected to Europe because Ireland's part of Europe, and we can get that in that door. And we are also part of the UK because we're Northern Ireland, and we can access that to them families. And I'm already in talks with scientists, some leading scientists globally from around the world. And Roger will tell our story once we'll have our board up and running and share everything with everyone. But for now, we'll have our fingers crossed.
All right, you are doing it fast. Now, I just want to, she's not going to blow her own horn, so I'll do it. Where did you go? You went to The Hague?
Yes, The Hague.
For a speech, on a global speech on autism and your research. Yes, I watched that speech. It was fabulous, by the way. You looked marvelous.
Thank you.
I know, it must have been very scary to be up in front of all those people, but go ahead.
They were absolutely lovely. Roger, what I found was the microbiome community is the most beautiful people that you will ever meet. They're scientific researchers who understand what the gut is about. They understand neurotransmitters, they understand the neuropaths, how the vagus nerve works, how to restore, what do you call it, the swan cells? Do you remember you covered the swan cells, Roger? Yeah. That was probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, that is the most vital information we need for Alzheimer's and MS. That's what we were studying, Roger. Well, you were influencing me.
I'm working with somebody right now with MS, and that's not a good disease to have. And I have seen that they had some good results with FMT and MS.
Yeah.
So I just hope for the best for everybody. But let me ask you this. Now, you've been, as you said, you've been working with people all around the world. And I know you have been. It's unbelievably fabulous that you have engaged so deeply into this. Very few people take on these commitments as serious as you have. Now, my question to you is about the interstitium, about that layer where the enzymes and the bacteria exist. Are these people on board with this? Do they understand that?
Yes.
Okay, they do. Okay.
Yes. No. Yes, many of them are just finding out about it because it's all new, and because of the zebrafish. Thanks to you, Roger, who has highlighted that many times. We all know what our zebrafish are, because they're in the defense, and it's like the blood system. You know, they're carrying all the molecules and ions around the body as well, and there's great awareness, and I think there's some research into zebrafish and cancer. So,
I just want to explain about the zebrafish thing she's talking about. There's a video on there. It's called "Your Textbooks Are Wrong. This is what your cells look like," and that was by, I believe, Caltech. It was I forget.
Your textbooks are wrong.
Yeah, I think it was Caltech. But anyway, it was a real nice guy, real good, and you could actually see them going. Now, all right, you see what we got there?
Yeah.
There's the fluid. There's the fluid-filled highway. There's where those little buggers were going, and they were coming out of here to go up into that fluid-filled highway to go around and attack invaders. This down here would be where they live, all of the bacteria and the enzymes, and then they get a signal to say pop out into here, and they go into that fluid-filled highway. Now, I know, it isn't incredible, and this is a mud fossil, and it's from a gigantic creature. I'm just hard. That's what I said to Margarite. I said, don't use my name. Just forget me, because they'll think I'm crazy, because I showed this. People's minds, they can't accept what they see. But anyway, that's...
the children accept it, Roger. The children get it. See all the children I tell about it? They understand it like that.
You can't miss it if you pay attention. All it is to just stop and say, all right, show me what you got. All and then let's discuss it. There is no discussion. It's like, you're an insane person, go get help, get off the crack pipe. It goes on and on and on. And it's just never ending.
But they're not looking at the bigger picture. They're not looking at the bigger picture. Children's minds are bored. The classroom is no good. I can take kids out to the beach and show them interstitium and show them where the interstitium balls are, and it's for their minds to develop and go, right, so this is inside us, like you showed the fossil. Yeah. The children can identify with it. It's too small to look in the body unless it's the cells that excite the children. They need their minds you know.
They must get real excited, huh? I haven't gone with any of the kids out into the woods or anything.
It's a pleasure, Roger. See,
I would love to. I would love to do like a camp or something, or something like that, and have all the kids go out in the morning and they just dig through the rocks. Look what I found! Look what I found! They'd go crazy. I could see it happening. And, yeah.
All my friends' children love it. They all know about the Mudfossils and everything. They're like a magnet towards me.
I've got a friend who's putting up my videos on TikTok. I'm an idiot when it comes to any of this stuff. I am about the biggest moron on the face of the planet. I don't even put the videos up on YouTube. My wife does. I just sit in front of here and I just ramble off like a idiot, you know, but she puts them up.
Wife ever, Roger. The best.
She is. She's good. She's good. I'm telling you. She's a registered nurse. You know, she always worked in my business, but she was a registered nurse when I met her. She worked in neuro, brain surgery, basically. But anyway, yeah, she takes care of all that stuff. But yeah. Well, I tell you, for a while there, she thought I was going crazy. Everybody did. Everybody did. Everybody thought this guy's lost it. He's gone, man. And, you know, that's how they treat you in the beginning. That's
what gives me strength, Roger. On my days, whenever I feel I'm up against it, I always think, how does my mentor Roger feel? It says all the time. And you have a big following. Northern Ireland's small, Roger. You know, it's small. We all know each other. You've got the global. Everyone from the globe. I don't know how you do it, but you've done it, Roger.
Well,
look how you've helped me.
Well, I'm just.
I've helped others.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thankful.
People don't believe you're my friend, Roger.
You're a very good. You are an.
People were saying I was making up. I knew you. I was like, oh.
Oh, get out of here.
Not even arguing.
I have to make up that I know you. You are going to be well known, my friend, for what you're doing. I can't do this. I can see the research. I can understand it, but I couldn't do what you're doing. So we all have our little pieces.
I couldn't do this unless you and your friends took your time and your care, each and every single one of you. Roger, you introduced me to all your friends. And I am so honoured, and they accepted me.
Well,
each and every one of you, give Northern Ireland your time to help our children.
Now listen,
that's heartbreaking.
Well,
and beautiful.
Well, it is heartwarming, and I just want to leave with what is John's condition now. We know when he started, he was going to be in a rubber room. Now, there were 6 years into this, right?
Okay. I thought John would never have a girlfriend. I thought John would never be kissed. He would never have a hug from a girl, or he would never experience love. We've all been teenagers, Roger. You know, the hormones go everywhere. And that was my biggest dread in life. No one will love my son. I don't have that problem. All the girls fancy him, and they all love him. He is learning chat-up lines, where before, you know, he used to make an idiot out of himself to the girls, but he's learning how to be cool. That's pretty good, Roger.
Now he's taking care of himself now. He doesn't have any digestive issues.
No. All the symptoms are gone.
That's just amazing. I don't know if you remember this or not. I'm gonna have to wrap this up, but I want to make one last statement. When we first started into this, or very near to that, I made some statement somewhere, and somehow somebody that was a really big shot in the autism world, that was controlling some of the research, made a very arrogant statement about there's people making these statements that they think they can fix autism. Autism is unrepairable. It cannot be fixed. There's nothing you can do. All you can do is manage the symptoms. It's the best you can hope for. It's nothing that anybody can. And this was the guy supposed to be in charge of research. It's like, don't do the research because there's nothing you can do about it. This is the attitude of the people that we were dealing with.
Yeah.
And I think now they realize, I still can't realize, I just can't get for the life of me why this isn't on the fast track. Boom, boom, boom. You could fix this thing in a couple of months. We need to have a bacterial database. And when you go in for any kind of, especially the shots, when the kids are very young, they're getting live viruses. These are, the MMR is all live viruses. They can take over. Okay, my outstanding friends, I am getting ready, hopefully, to do a meeting. But before we do that, let's just get started with what it's going to be about, is autism. And identifying the types of autism. They always thought autism was a spectrum. All the same thing, only some of them had it worse than others. You have a bad cold, you have just a slight cold, that type of thing. Well, now they realize, no, these are different types of autism. They're not the same type. Now, this falls directly into my theory that enzymes and bacteria are the cause of these disruptive behaviors, or behaviors that are not normal, let's say. And the enzymes that... Okay, my friends, I'm hoping to be doing a meeting very shortly. Let me just make sure there's nobody here yet. Okay. Now, what we're going to be talking about is autism, and what they have, just a groundbreaking study identifies 4 biologically distinct autism subtypes. Now, there might be many more than that, but then now they know that there's 4 that they can say are attributable to some different reason. They're not just on the same spectrum and one's worse than the other. They're different types of reactions within the body because of different chemistry. That is my conclusion. Now, here's what they're saying. They uncovered 4 unique subtypes, each with its own clinical and genetic signature. Well, genetic, we'll talk about that in a minute. The discovery offers a new lens into the biology of the condition, which is autism, and a promise of precision care. All right, now, autism reveals multiple biological subtypes, each with unique genetic and developmental patterns. Let's associate that to cancer. How many cancers are there? There's over 200. And when you say, well, I got cancer, you say, oh, okay, they're all the same. No, they're not. They're all the same. And it goes for the same thing. For literally every disease, there's a little bit of a subtype to them that changes how severe it is, or how it affects your ears instead of your nose, and that type of thing. But it's almost the same, but it's caused by a different enzyme. Every one of these chemical reactions and all of the building blocks in your body, your membranes, your nerves, all of the fluids that flow and carry things, they're all created by enzymes, and they all work with enzymes to do biological processes that are impossible without the enzymes. Impossible. You don't take my word for it. Here's chat, or AI. I guess this is Google. I asked can biological reactions happen fast enough without catalysts, without the enzymes? No. Most biological reactions would be far too slow to sustain life without the enzymes. The enzymes do it. And if you don't have them, it's just not going to happen. Now, if you don't have enough bacteria to create enough enzymes, you're just not going to react well. You may be able to react, but you're always going to be in that long COVID stage where you just never come out of it because your catalysts and your enzymes have not got enough protective abilities because you just don't have enough of them. Now, why? I don't know. What happened to those enzymes? Well, the enzymes are produced by bacteria, so what happened to the bacteria? That's the key. Where is that bacteria, and what bacteria are you missing or have too much of? And that's fully understand. You have too much of C. difficile, you're sick, real sick. And it takes over your system. Now, other catalysts break down products to make, food and protein. They do all things. They break down into what they call little, molecules that you can twist around to make whatever you want in your body. Proteins, primarily, which are building blocks. And then other catalysts attack invaders, and you just tear them to shreds. These things are very, very, very exotic enzymes. And that is, without the bacteria, you don't get the enzymes. All right, here's the key right here. Bacteria are considered the factories for enzymes. They produce a vast array of enzymes. They know there's at least 75,000 different enzymes, and I think that's just the beginning. There are a vast array of enzymes that play crucial roles in various biological processes. Every single biological process, 100%, requires a catalyst. It won't happen without the catalyst. It never, ever, ever, ever will happen without the catalyst, including digestion, nutrient acquisition, industrial applications. They use enzymes for everything. Enzymes are not alive. They're little chemistry sets. They cannot reproduce themselves. They don't eat, they don't poop, they just float around. And they are tiny. They are so tiny that these enzymes, which are called ribosomes, before they activate into enzymes, they're in a little ball. It's called a ribosome. And that travels through the body and lodges inside of cells primarily. And they can hold millions, literally millions, of these little tiny ribosome enzymes inside of one single human cell. Millions of those, in addition to all the organelles and all the other things that are inside, the mitochondria, to this, to that. It's inside the cell, millions on top of those. And if you don't have those, the chemistry is required just like that all day long. It's not going to happen. Here's a little more proof of what I'm saying. Again, this is AI. It says the exact number of enzymes is unknown. Estimated human body contains at least or approximately 75,000. They have no idea. I'm sure it's much more than that. And these are all different enzymes. Different enzymes. What does that mean? Enzymes don't come from one bacteria squirting out 20 different types of enzymes, I don't think. So we have to have a bazillion different types of bacteria in us. Now, these enzymes play crucial roles in various body functions. Yes, metabolism, digestion, healing, immunity, everything. You can actually repair your own DNA. If you have the right enzymes. They can go in and cut it up and snip it up. They know this happens. DNA in us is repairable. In lower creatures like bacteria and stuff like that, the DNA has no ability to repair itself. But in us, we can actually fix some of these things that they think are strictly genetic errors. We can, if the right enzyme is there, I believe it can actually repair some of the defects in DNA. You see right here? I asked, can DNA get repaired by the body? Can DNA be repaired by the body? It says yes. The body has several mechanisms to repair damaged DNA. Well, what is damaged DNA? Well, damaged DNA means it's a genetic error. Well, maybe. But can it be repaired? Well, maybe. It says these processes are crucial for maintaining the integrity of our genetic material, preventing diseases like cancer. All right, preventing diseases like cancer. We have to repair that bad DNA. DNA can be damaged by both internal cellular process and external factors like radiation. The radiation is the key, because what we found out working with Margarite, who made a protocol for her son and followed it religiously, boom, 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 boom. And if you don't do that, you're in trouble, because the reaction to enzymes is almost instantaneous. If you remove the bacteria from your body right now, within 2 hours you're going to be sick as hell. If you remove the bacteria, kill that bacteria, and it no longer creates those enzymes, within 2 hours you're going to be sick. And how can I prove that? Well, here's how. All right, I want you to think about this carefully. When you go out into the sunlight, you are in radiation. And when you are around machines that are giving off a lot of electrical signals and they're pulsating and doing all kinds of things with magnetic fields, you are in radiation. So you're going to be in radiation. It's going to happen. But at extreme levels of radiation, you will damage the DNA, you'll damage the cell walls, you're going to damage all kinds of things. But you can repair those. Your body is designed to repair that stuff. Now, as I'm starting to work through this, I'm starting to think, well, you know, you're exposed to radiation all the time. So there's probably a certain amount of radiation your body can handle. And then above that, you're going to get sick. That's why they wear the badges at CERN and all those places where they work with these particle colliders throwing off these big chunks of particles. They get hit with them, their body gets damaged, and they can absorb up to a certain amount, and they say, no, you can't go in there anymore because you've absorbed a bunch of this energy. Now, what did they absorb? Well, they absorbed frequencies of energy. Well, what did it do to their body? I say it damaged their bacteria. Bacteria can't fix itself, but we can. We can fix ourselves. All right? The body has several mechanisms to repair damaged DNA. So it can fix itself if you have the right bacteria available to make the enzymes. However, if you get hit by an extreme amount of radiation, it kills all your bacteria, almost all of it, well, a lot of it. And all of a sudden you get sick. About 2 hours later, you get real sick. Start throwing up, diarrhea, bloody stool, all kinds of indigestion and gases and all kinds of things, because you can't break down anything more because your body's not putting out the enzymes because you just killed your bacteria. And your bacteria does not have the ability to repair itself. You know something? I had been under the impression that if you damage DNA, well, all right, let's just take it from the start. This is what bacteria is. Little tiny single cell. That's one single cell. But inside that one cell, it has its own DNA. See, nucleoid DNA. That's the DNA that controls what kind of a cell it's going to be, what kind of flagella, what kind of capsule, what kind of cell wall. And it also controls what kind of ribosome that this particular cell will create. All right, this particular bacteria. Single cell, but it's a bacteria. It's a living little creature. They can reproduce, and they can repair themselves. This I was not well aware of. I thought it was only the human cells that did repair of their DNA. These can be damaged and then repair their DNA, and they claim they do a pretty good job of repairing it, so they will always reproduce exactly the same ribosome. This is the key. If you don't create the exact same ribosome, you do not get the chemistry. You don't get the chemistry, you don't do the job that chemistry is supposed to do, whether it's to make building blocks or to make enzymes that break things down, or it makes immune system, protective devices that attack invaders. They do all of these things. And there's at least 75,000 enzymes. And this is an enzyme. All right, it's in a ball. But inside there is an enzyme that's gigantic. You see that little ball I showed you? That's what's inside of it. When it opens up, it's just stunning. Every one of these little red and blue dots is basically, you can think of it as a little magnet spot. And all of these little magnetism spots have to line up with another set of spots for this to do its job. And it does it instantly, and done. It's like electrocuting a bazillion different spots all at one time when that enzyme hits something. It's instantaneous. It does more chemistry in under 1 second than would happen in 1,000,000 years. The same chemistry would happen. This would break, that would break, this would add, this would stop, this would for 1,000,000 years, and you would eventually get to the same thing that this creates in under 1 second. Life is impossible without these enzymes. Where do they come from? Well, let's take a look. Here's where they come from. This is the DNA, and it has a program that says, I am going to create that enzyme I just showed you. And if it's not exactly identical to that, it does not work. And it says, I'm going to create that in a string of these little balls. And they look just like this. They're polypeptide chains, they call them. And they are literally little magnetic signatures that tie together, and then they wrap them all up in a ball. So this little ball is just as tiny as can be. Millions can fit in a single human cell. Now, that goes squirting out of here all day long. Blip, 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 blip. That's its job. That's what its program says to do, and it does it. So we know it's creating these ribosomes, and here's what happens to those ribosomes. Eventually, they end up this. But before they end up being this, they have to shed their skin. They come in like this, and they're, again, millions can fit in one single human cell. They're tiny. A trigger happens. Something touches a little skin on the outside or whatever, and the sheath falls off. And out pops that elegant molecule. All right, now, what is it? Is it an enzyme or is it a protein? Are enzymes proteins? You can look at them that way. Only a protein in my world is a building block. It comes on and says, okay, I'm going to be muscle. What do you want to do with me? It says, okay, you go over there and build some muscle. Or I'm going to be bone. Or I'm going to be an eyelid. Whatever, some kind of structural component is proteins. This is a breaker. This says, when you see one of these big things like this, chop it all up like that and break it into little pieces, and then we can use it and give it to the protein guys and they can make something with it. That's the difference. Now, in addition to that, an enzyme can be a killer. A protein, I don't think, does that job. Protein is a builder. These are breakers and killers. And that's the difference, both made by bacteria, both come from ribosomes, and both come from originally from a bacteria. If you kill that bacteria, you're in trouble. Now, what if you just harm it? I thought we were killing them and they never could repair themselves. I was under a false premise not too long ago. Now I realize I was wrong. These things can protect themselves and regrow. Frankly, this explains a lot of things, because they do have a robust DNA repair mechanism. Bacteria, they can fix, and they say robust, DNA repair mechanism. So they possess multiple pathways to correct various types of DNA damage. DNA is nothing more than a program. It regenerates the program. It ensures the genome integrity, which is the program sequences, and the survival, so that bacteria does its job. Now, the repair system crucial for dealing with both spontaneous and externally induced DNA damage. Well, the spontaneous, I imagine, I'm not sure what they're talking about, but I would say that was like electric pulses or something like that, ultraviolet exposure, radio waves, that type of thing. I was going to go through all these little things, but nobody wants all the details. Just let me tell you something. This is important to understand. DNA can be repaired in bacteria. That's something new to me, and there's a ton of different ways, and it can be damaged in a ton of different ways. And it appears to me that they know something about these proteins, but when they say it can be repaired in a number of different ways, the only way you can repair it is with an enzyme. The only way you can go in and affect chemistry like that is with another enzyme. So everything boils down to bacteria right at the very beginning. So if you have a whole bunch of bacteria that are damaged all at once, you're going to be sicker than hell almost immediately. And that's what happens when you get acute radiation exposure. And all of a sudden you get a pulse of radiation. And it damages the DNA or actually the bacteria. One way or another, it damages it, and it is not able to produce the enzyme. And within 2 hours, you're sick. That's how fast this can go bad. And that's what Margarite found out, that if you didn't stay on top of the regime daily, boom, 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 and I think she was doing at least twice a day. And she realized the symptoms would come back if they didn't have, it appears, the enzymes. Because probiotics and the things she was using are not growing in the body like they would if they were living bacteria that was, found its way to find a place to live, create an environment to live in, like plants living in your body. And literally it is. It's just no difference whatsoever. Bacteria, and that's the reason it's vulnerable. Bacteria is very similar to plant life. All right, it's got a lot of the same things. And they use a lot of bactericides, which are herbicides, on plants that we eat now, that have been genetically modified not to react to that herbicide. However, the plant stuff in us doesn't have that modification. It will be damaged by eating stuff that is herbicides. A herbicide kills weeds, but they don't think it hurts humans because we don't have this particular pathway. It's called chicanase or something like that. But it's a certain pathway inside of plants that without it, they die. However, they can change the codes inside the genes and say, we don't care about this pathway anymore. I don't know why, but they figured a way to, that's what's called genetically modified foods. They say, don't worry about the pathway. Now, you eat that stuff, and if it still has that herbicide in it, which they will, I've looked into it, they say it lasts at least a year. And they put it right on before it's sent to market. They use it even, this particular stuff, as a desiccant, which means to dry out the stuff before they harvest it, or right after they harvest it, so they don't have to let it sit around for a long time. So that's not good, I don't think, because we rely on that bacteria in us to create the things that we need to live on and to break down things, just as I just showed you. I'm just going to go right through this very, very simple. You saw what the bacteria does. It creates the ribosomes, that little ball. All right, that little ball unsheaths and becomes an enzyme or a protein or an immune attacker. All right, so you have to have the bacteria to create the ribosomes. Here's the whole process in one little clip. It's very, very simple. Bacteria is the programmer that sets up the program, which is the ribosome. This shows a ribosome. Well, coming out of the bacteria, before it leaves, it fills up a little ball. And this is the ball, but it contains all these little protein chains. And there's 20 different proteins, and they actually create almost like a computer program. And there's a very, very enormous amount of program capability, because every one of these codes can have up to 20 different characters. And they transcribe this into a strand of messenger RNA, which attaches it splices into the DNA using catalyst. That's a catalyst, polymerase. This is a catalyst. It doesn't say it here, but it's transferase. Anything you see A's on it, it's an enzyme. And there's just a million, I don't know how many enzymes there is, but there's at least 75,000 that they know of. And trust me, they don't know much about any of this stuff yet. It's just really starting to be looked into. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if they realize how important this is in the immune system, which is the membrane that surrounds everything in your body. And that membrane, you go through that, you're in trouble. This is a membrane. I found these long ago in my studies of fossil rocks. And that's a fossilized membrane. And they are thick. These creatures were huge. It's just the way it worked. And that, let me just put a little water on there. You see that changes color pretty quick. They absorb. You see the brown layer and the brown layer? That's a membrane. This is the fluid-filled highway in between here. That fluid-filled highway, they didn't even know it was there. Because by the time they did autopsies, they drained the bodies and there was this gone. It's just fluid-filled. Fluid-filled. And what does it do? It carries these things around to go attack things. This is where your fluids, which can contain all these enzymes, flowed through. They didn't know it was here. By the time they did the autopsies, they thought this was a hard, thick layer. It's not. It's just a completely saturated, fluid-filled highway. Now, I discovered this particular layer in 2015. I wrote a paper about it. 2018, they agreed, yes, this is now the biggest organ in the human body. And it's very easy to see once you look at it in the mud fossils. That's how I discovered it. And at that time, that's long ago I discovered this, and nobody knew anything about it. So now it's basically the most important part of immunities in the whole human body, is that layer of membrane right there. I hope you could see that. I don't know if you could. I wasn't holding in the right place. But this is the membrane. And that's the fluid-filled space. Never knew it was there. All right, let's just take it one step at a time. DNA is the genetic code of life. It's the sequence of these particles. And enzymes are the constructors of these sequences. If you don't have the enzymes, you are not going to get the code. It just won't be right. And these are the enzymes. Here's how it works. The genetic code contains instructions for building and maintaining the organism and everything. It dictates the traits and functions passed down through generations. Well, there's more than that. It's not just the genetic code is passed down through generations. This can be altered by damaged bacteria, basically. It says the code is written using a 4-letter alphabet. A, T, C, and G. They're organized into genes. They say you got a genetic problem. Well, there's specific segments of DNA. But in order to get those segments of DNA built, you have to have the right enzymes. That means you have to have the right bacteria. They don't just spontaneously happen. And then if the DNA is damaged, it can fix itself. This is very sophisticated stuff. Now, there's a lot to look into this. Most people don't want all the details, but boy, I tell you, it's interesting when you get deep into these different codes and how they split apart, and then they have to come back together in a correct sequence. And sometimes they don't. And they can actually fix themselves. But this is what we want to talk about, is the different understanding genetics of autism essential for revealing the biological mechanism that contribute to the condition? Yes. The genetics doesn't just necessarily mean you inherited a certain set of genes. You can affect the genes just by not even having them or having them methylated when they should be unmethylated, or having them unmethylated when they should be methylated, which means to turn them on or turn them off. You can have the right genes and they just don't turn on. Now, they look and they actually can look at the genes, I believe, and see the sequences and say, no, that's not the right sequence. And that's built into your DNA. Now, should your DNA be able to repair that code? It appears it can. That's what I'm seeing. That you can repair the DNA. I think that's what we saw before, that the DNA has a very strong repair mechanism. All right, but when you damage your DNA, you will get sick, because it's not, your DNA and your bacteria, they won't be producing the right ribosomes. You don't have the right ribosomes, something's going to happen to you. And there's a lot to this that I'll discuss later, but it was very encouraging to see now that they do realize that autism is just not one big thing, that there's a spectrum of one guy doesn't feel real, one is not so bad, one's terrible. It's not that way. It's a different enzyme, a different catalyst is affecting different behaviors and probably different bacteria in your body, which is what we need to do, is look into those bacteria. We don't look into the bacteria, we're just guessing. And they should do a fecal swab on every time you go to the doctor, for sure. And anytime you have any medical intervention, you should have one before and afterwards to see how much it changed your bacteria in your gut. It's important you have the right bacteria, or you're not going to be able to break down the foods, you're not going to be able to make the products, you're not going to be able to have the proteins, you're not going to have the enzymes. All right, there's Margarite. Hold on. If there's nothing there to suppress them, and a lot of these kids have almost no, they're pooping wrong, they're doing all of the bad things, they don't have any stuff in them to initiate the fight back. All they got to do is have a little bit to fight back, and yes, they will become immune. Fabulous. These shots are very important. I have no issue with the shot. I have issue with what's the kid got to fight back against that shot. Before he gets the shot, they should do the fecal swab.
Well, that's the way you've educated me, Roger, and I know I have family who are fine with shots, and I don't know if my family are allergic to eggs or what they are allergic to, and that's why we need this study, because it's so important. There's so many of us. Roger, the mitochondria issues are now in every family in Northern Ireland. That means every female who gets pregnant runs the risk of having autistic children. And it said it's going to go up 200%. I seen it in X there in the Belfast Telegraph earlier on. And it'll go up 200%. And I put a comment in, well, why don't we fix it at the mitochondria issues? Because you can't prevent them. Robert A. Hugh from Harvard University found that out. He has the data. He died 5 years ago, but he done all the data research to tell us that you can prevent having a mitochondrial disease, which is where a baby can die up to the age of 1, and if they're lucky, they'll live to the age 15. And we have children that are on our program who have the mitochondrial diseases. And on LinkedIn, I have seen some United Mitochondria diseases. They have adults living to the age 25 and older, and normally they only live to the age 14.
Wow.
So it would be very interesting what their research is for them families, because 3 people I know lost their children last year and the year before. And it's very sad to see mothers losing teenage children. It is very sad. We know all the children that won't live past age 14 or 15, most of them die about 10 or between 9 and 12. But wouldn't it be brilliant if them children had extended lives and parents didn't have to live waiting death knocking on their door?
It seems like such a simple thing to do, to at least check to see the bacteria. It's not a big issue. It's not even hard. And then at some point as we go forward, with spectral analysis, with the colors of the light and everything, the CMOS that we've been working with.
Well, this is the key, Roger. See what you have found out about the chemicals and everything else to go with the bloods and the different colours. That is the whole key, the chemistry.
Yeah, what I was hoping for, and Andy, Andy's been working with us. He's a bacterial engineer. I think he's a triple or quadruple PhD. He's somewhere up in the clouds. He's
unbelievable.
He's a nice guy.
Oh, he's brilliant. Andy's a genius. He helped us so much.
Yeah. Well, he knows the real deep details, and he protects the food supply. He's got a whole batch of laboratories he runs for food import. So anyway, I guess we're going to have to close this up, sweetie. But you did a fabulous job, and it's been really, it's quite satisfying to see somebody that actually does something. I see a lot of people, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. Well, over time, I can't do all that stuff. And, you have lived the life, not what you don't normally see is people that are making all these statements and claims and everything. And they have no immediate interaction with that life. And hopefully things have turned around for you and it's been better,
Oh, much better, much better, Roger. Last year was pretty horrible with the fake data, and it wasn't created once, it was created 3 times.
Tell me about that. What do you mean fake data?
Okay. ChatGPT, Roger, you're a master, so you put all your research into ChatGPT, and then that can give you your workout. A lot of people don't understand. They think ChatGPT, even though it's AI, they think it's got all the information in it. So whenever they go to research, they haven't put the research into ChatGPT, so it can't analyse it. And the people were using ChatGPT to create false data against us. And because AI created it, whenever they go to people who don't know how to use AI, they're like, oh, AI, a super brain. No. I believe you. But if you read it, or I read it, we'd be like, no, that's fake. That's fake.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I do this all the time. If everything I look up what mainstream says, because that's ChatGPT. Yeah. They, although they do have me specifically making all these claims which are just way out of the box. And every single time it says, if this was true, it would be just stunning. If this was true, it'd be fabulous for society. If this was true, it would be this and and then there's no evidence. And here I got all the evidence. I have all kinds of evidence. But then they always say it's not peer reviewed, so there is no valid evidence. So you might as well forget this guy.
Have you used Grok yet, Roger?
No, but somebody did.
Grok is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's got all our research in it.
I know, yeah. Somebody was telling me.
Nowhere else has it.
I know, yeah.
Nowhere else has it. Grok has all our research.
Somebody did tell me that, yeah.
I am shocked because only one thing it didn't have in it. Whenever I said to it, here, Grok, you don't have that. You don't have GC math. It went and revisited it and came back with more information than I knew. So I was quite pleased with it. But only one thing I didn't know. and I've been using it for months.
I'll have
You
to.
treat me and your friends. So I know everything, Roger, but I don't know everything. I want to know more. But I know about our protocol from soil to gut. And I know all the elements and all the chemistry and the physics because you guys are the best in the world.
Well, you turned me on to some good stuff. That organic sulfur, I think, could be very important for the membrane. And let me just ask you, the
It's the
silica.
backbone of DNA, Roger. Sulfur is the backbone of DNA.
Yeah.
So it's vital. We've covered it. I think you've covered it in some. We've covered that much, Roger.
Yeah, well, it goes on and on and on. I got like 3,900 videos now. Who the hell's gonna watch that? You know what I mean?
I have.
Well, I got a friend. I got a friend. He says, I watched all your videos. I said, come on, you're not that old. 3,009. He said, yeah. And I guess that's all he does is just watching my videos all the time. Anyway.
They're very good. And Roger, see to keep going over things and re-examining it. We're finding out new things that we have overlooked. And it's like, there it was there. It stares in the face.
Every time I do another one, I find something new 100% of the time. Just it might be the tiniest little thing, but I say, wow, that really, and now they're starting to, I've been doing so many videos. Somebody's got to be paying attention. I don't get many hits. I'm very suppressed. And even there's like a thing in the algorithm, if you don't say things that everybody else says, they make, they put you way down. And that's what's happened to me. So it's just one of those things that people have to start talking up. And I'm asking people to start speaking up because I can't seem to, even one of my friends mentioned me on TikTok the other day. All he did was mention my name and they suspended him for a week.
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
TikTok?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was in I forget what it was in, and he appealed it or something, and they said that they were cutting down on false information, something like that. That it's not peer reviewed. Well, the guy's just he doesn't say what everybody else says, so it can't be true. But they
very hard to peer-review your stuff, Roger, whenever it's so futuristic that no one hasn't even looked at it that way.
Well, when they see my stuff about the mud fossils and my claims about the universe being biological, they find that very difficult to accept. And I understand the reluctance to accept that, given what we have always been taught. It's just so...
Yeah.
But then when you see something like this, and you say, that's a membrane, how do you explain that membrane?
Uh-huh.
And then when you see my hair follicle, like you were talking about before.
Unbelievable, Roger.
That's a two inch hair follicle. And it's hard lighting here, but you can see, I've shown it all. It's got the sebaceous gland, it's got the erector pili muscle attachment, it's got the 2 inches.
Unbelievable.
So anyway,
every beauty therapist should have that in their clinic.
You see this, but I got a guy the other day sent me a picture in front of a dentist's office or something where some office. There was one exactly identical, had all of the same features. It had the erector pili muscle attachment, sebaceous gland, the hair follicle, everything, 2 feet wide.
No way.
Yep.
No way.
2 feet wide. It was enormous. I went, holy smokes. But, you see some of these tendon balls, they're 6 feet in diameter.
Where did he come from?
Well, everything's biology. That's why I say, that's why they think I'm crazy. But all I want to do is have a discussion with the people that are making these comments that I am the one that's crazy. Let's explain what we see. That's all I want. Anyway, I'm going to let you
That's so
go.
much fun, Roger. That's the mad thing about it. It's so much fun.
Once you-
And what are humans talking about? What are we talking about? You're giving us all something to talk about, whether we're for it or against it. We're all talking about it.
It's something. It's exciting if you have that mindset.
Yeah.
But some people just don't have it. They just doesn't matter.
It's the chemistry. It's the chemistry and how it feeds the rocks feed our plants, and then what goes into the plants and animals then feed us. You know, whenever you think about it, it's just that's the same minerals as us, them rocks.
I say we are what they ate.
For the bacteria.
We are what they ate. All right, listen, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for this, and give John my best, and tell him to be nice to his girlfriend. Treat him right. Treat him right.
Treat them right.
Yeah,
There's
make
too
sure.
many of them, Roger.
Huh.
He doesn't know what one to pick.
That is so.
It's like, they're like dark hairs or they're like blondes. And then the redhead walks past me, he's like, ooh.
Well, God bless him. That's all I can say. All right, I love you, sweetie. Thank you. You've been a fabulous friend to have here, and it's been wonderful.
Roger, thank you so much.
All right.
You have been so good to me, my family, and my country.
Well,
thank you.
heartwarming. All right,
you.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you, sweetie.
Take care. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.